Hey everyone, so I just wanted to share with you another video, hoping to somehow help you if you've had, past trauma and hurts, as a child and you're dealing with the effects of it now. A lot of people just go and live through their hurts continuously. And being someone that is in therapy like me, it has really helped to be able to really counter everything and the lies that I believed about myself. What family members had said about me, the way they made me feel, the way others made me feel through the years, and what I perceived as rejection. And so, what really is prompting me to really help, my brothers and sisters, is the fact that I am writing a book, as you know, called Love One Another. And in the book, I explore the different areas that keep believers from being unified in the church. I mean, what offenses keep us from loving each other? What are some of the areas? I mean, it could be love of money, could be pride, could be woundedness, whatever it is that keeps us from truly being unified through love. I want to explore you know, in these videos to try to help you. So basically, what is the behavioral patterns that you may have? I mean, I don't know about your past, what you've dealt with as a child. And like I had said in another video, that I firmly believe that a lot of wounds that we receive as kids, we start operating out of them. And it molds us into the adults that we are. So I want to title this video, Do You Have Wounded Thinking? And, how many believers today, live their lives and they still operate out of, defense mechanisms that they learned as kids through woundedness, or, they're behaving in a certain way that doesn't reflect healing and who they are as children of God. And I think when we are walking, in that place of woundedness, we don't have the identity in our minds of being a child of God because of the hurts that we are encountering. And so, my question is, what hurts have you been through as a child? And I already posed that to you at the beginning. Now, you may need to pause the video and think back about, what you have encountered as a child, you know, and whatever hurts you have encountered, what were the effects of those hurts as you grew? What behavioral patterns came from them in which you operated out of? Because when we're hurt, we do what we can not to be hurt. Like I already gave like an example in another video that, with the whole abuse issue, how many people are abused and so they disassociate themselves from reality and think about something else while their body is being abused. It's a horrible thing to have to go through that. How many have dissociative identity disorders from this? You know, and as a child, you disassociate yourself from the situation and you try to bring comfort to yourself by creating another identity to comfort you. That maybe that's how that is formed, you know. So of course, I am not a psychologist, but what I'm learning in, my therapy sessions, I want to share with people, the things that I've learned, because like I had said in another video, I am not the same as I was, 3 years ago, because I've been trying to work on myself. I've been trying to root out why I behave at certain times, when I'm feeling diminished by people, what I do, or, how hard things have been these past few years. People can, trash me and, think less of me. And so when that happens, I feel diminished, and so I flee from the situation. That's the effect of the hurt that I received. And I'm learning not to do that. I'm learning to stop myself at that moment and know the truth of who I am and who God had created me to be. So I stop myself when I'm feeling that. That, okay, somebody's going to diminish me, then I just don't need people like that in my life, So I will not associate with somebody that is going to tear me down. I'm going to associate with people that build me up, because I don't need that kind of toxicity in my life. So, the question I'm posing before, I'm going to pose again. What hurts have you been through as a child? You may need to stop the video and think back. Um, I already shared that, the feelings of rejection that I got, and I'm learning to find out where they're coming from, why I behave the way I do. What was the effects of the rejection in my life? What it was the effects of the abuse in my life? Um, so I'm learning to piece together, you know, where it started and why I behave the way I do. I remember as a teenager, I wasn't a skinny guy. I was obese. So I remember, and this is not to tear down my father. I mean, at the last year of his life, he was watching religious shows, and I honestly believe that he came to Christ. But with me sharing about my past is in no way trying to hurt, his memory or to trash him. That is not at all. But I have to talk about what I had been through, so people can see the situation, and maybe, they've dealt with the similar areas. So I remember 16, you know, of course, me being obese, I was going to see my uncle who lived in the same, community as we did. And my father's side of the family were alcoholics, and, they drank all the time and said things that they shouldn't have. But I loved my Uncle Freddie. He was an alcoholic. He got drunk a lot whenever his checks came in. And at the end of the month, he was sober because he didn't have any more money. But once his check came in again, he got drunk again. And so he was funny. And I loved, it's horrible, but I loved when he used to get drunk because he said some of the funniest things. And I know he loved me. And so I was going to see him one day, and my father was sitting with his friend drinking. And I'm passing by him, and he says to me, "Where are you going, you fat piece of sh?" And I don't know what my response was. I don't know what I felt in my heart at that time, but I know that hurt my confidence. I know that in high school, I didn't have the confidence of talking to any girl because of what I look like. Because my father is trashing me. My aunt is trashing me. You know, many of my other uncles said words that were similar. So there are showing flaws that I see in myself. So because of the flaws, I didn't have the confidence of talking to any girl because my flaws would be obvious to them. And so I never had a girlfriend because of that. And through the years, I came up with this judgment toward all women, that all women don't like guys that look like me. So therefore, I'm not going to have a relationship. And so you have a way of thinking that is formed through the years. And this way of thinking is rooted from hurt. And so through therapy, I had to counter. And so another question I want to pose to you is, under what circumstances do your hurts come out? You may be living your life every day, but maybe people have said certain things to you. So you react from it. And how do you react is the question. How do you respond? When somebody says something to you, it may not be their intention. Maybe it's what you're perceiving as hurt. So, you know what's going on in your own life. You know what you think about yourself. What do you think about yourself? Does it reflect healing or does it reflect hurt? Does it reflect healing as a child of God, or does it reflect the hurt that you received from your past? I remember, of course, dealing with rejection and self worth issues, even in my 30s. And I remember, meeting my girlfriend and, online and stuff like that. And I was already operating out of rejection. So I went to go see her. She lived more than 20 miles away. And of course, she was staying with her aunt. And, she used to clean her aunt's place. And she did that to be at peace with everyone. But when I got there, she was busy cleaning. And I'm thinking to myself, I drove all the way here to see her, and she's busy doing other things. She doesn't care about me. Other things are more important. So these were the thoughts that came in my mind at that time. And so maybe the enemy brought even more negative thoughts. And then maybe he spoke and he said, well, she don't care about you being here. She don't want to see you. You might as well just leave. And that's what I did. I left without her knowing it, because I justified in my mind that, well, she's not seeing me anyway. She don't care that I'm here, so why stay here? I got better things to do. So I ended up leaving, and she ended up texting afterwards, finding out where I went. And so that is how I reacted from my hurt, because that hurt came from rejection. Maybe it is also tied to self-worth as well, that I am not worth being around. I am not worth spending time with. Maybe that comes from me being younger, where my father didn't spend time with me, where my sister didn't spend time with me. And so this is how I reacted under the hurt. And it seemed like through the years I did this. This is how I reacted through the years. And it did not reflect healing. And of course, I didn't have the tools then to deal with this. I could have countered it with the truth of the person and the character that they had, but I didn't know how to do it. So I know that when I had been on different dating sites, Instagram profiles and Facebook profiles, I would speak with, I guess it would be many different women. And I would tell them what I do job wise. And the way they made me feel was that I was less than them. They diminished me. So when I feel that, I have to flee from the situation. And I would say, well, you can find somebody better than me. And that is me operating out of rejection. Now, having the tools to counter these lies is what is needed at that time instead of entertaining those thoughts. And that's what the enemy wants us to do. He wants to speak even more negative to us. He wants us to entertain those thoughts, because if we do, we're walking in the complete opposite the way that Jesus wants us to. So we behave out of our hurt patterns of the past. So basically, if we want to walk in healing, we have to know who we are as children of God. God doesn't create junk. God doesn't create us. We're not born in this world rejected. We're not born in this world hurt. It's hurt people that hurt us. And it's that cliche, hurt people, and it's true. No one is born without being hurt. And so out of their own hurt, they hurt others. They may not do it intentionally. It may be unintentional. And maybe there are some that do intentionally hurt. But we have to know who we are as children of God. That, we are sons and daughters of God. We are the children of our Father. And we are co-heirs with Christ. So we need to reflect that healing. And so to counter these lies, I'm going to give examples in my own life. And maybe you can do the same with what you have dealt with in your past. What do you feel when you feel hurt? Does it reflect healing or does it reflect hurt? So with my dad telling me, "Where are you going, you fat piece of shit?" If I could go back in time to myself, who was 16, I would stop myself. I would say, "Robert," or Rob, don't listen to him. He is hurt. He is a hurt person. There is nothing wrong with you. You are a great guy. You have a big heart. You care about people. And that is what matters. These words that he spoke to you are less than who you are. Hurt people hurt people. So if I could counter that with the truth, I wouldn't have let that hurt hit me. And then with the example of my girlfriend at that time, if I would have countered that, what could I have done? Well, she's in there cleaning. Why not get up and help her clean? Which I did. I mean, I did many other times. I helped her. I would do the dishes there and stuff like that. But I could have countered that with the truth. Help her clean. That way you would have been with her instead of leaving. And then countering those lies, she don't want me here. Well, that's not true. She wanted me to come over. She said hi to me. She smiled. She talked with me. She sat down with me at times. She was trying to show that she cared. But I didn't listen to that. I didn't pay attention to that. I let the hurts come in. But I could counter it with the truth now. And so when you counter it, you start walking in the complete opposite of what you believed. So, and this is the tools that I want to help you with, in your own walk with Christ. Like me, I don't want you to walk through the hurtful patterns. I want you to get to that place to where your past hurts doesn't hurt anymore, and that you can walk out in healing. So I pray this video has blessed you. Thank you for taking the time to watch.